so we are in the last stretch of Soul Reaver 2. That means no intro today, we're going all the way. Hello, my name is Ray.
Hello, my name is Taylor.
And I am Peyton. Yes, the lucky charm that keeps the team together.
Also part of a balanced, marshmallowy breakfast.
You know what? What is lucky about Lucky Charms? That leprechaun could never hang on to his cereal.
Sometimes he did. I mean, every now and then you'd see a commercial and there'd be a little bit of suspense. Like, is Lucky gonna get to eat his cereal? I don't know.
I think you guys are misunderstanding the lucky part of Lucky Charms. Yes, it is lucky because you believe in them.
Like, you eat Lucky Charms that morning and then the rest of the day you just feel good about yourself?
Yes, I don't really get feeling good about my breakfast unless it's bacon or something.
Well, obviously, you're eating cereal wrong.
Well, who would have guessed? Anyway, this is the part of the game, the only part of the game where having a specific Reaver makes any kind of difference. The Air Reaver helps you move through the swamp normally.
It is a real shame more stuff didn't get finished.
No, yes. Is this the Lord of the Rings reference? No, I think it's too early for that. In the book, Gandalf says, you cannot pass, I wield the secret fire, something or other, you have the dark fire. It's worse. You cannot pass.
Well, I can see why they changed it for the movie. Your version doesn't sound like Gandalf even knows if he wants to fight the Balrog.
Well, would you? If you could get a Balrog to go back to hell just by shouting at it, I mean, I'm not feeling it today, Balrog. Go back to the pits where you came from.
No, come on, man.
No.
I gotta kill those hobbits.
No.
I gotta...
No.
Don't be like this.
No.
Come on, I've been buried for a millennia. I'm really looking forward to a fight.
No, Balrog.
Okay, fine.
What was the Balrog's whole stake in that thing anyway? Why chase hobbits up and down the stairs? It's so exhausting. Just carve yourself a giant couch and go lay down and watch Elf TV. Elf television? Yes? That sounds terrible. Today on Elf TV, we have trees, accompanied with the sound of a lyre.
The sound of a liar? Like what, like a political analyst?
No, Taylor. Yes. A lyre is a musical instrument. It is like the harp, but more dainty. How much do you guys want to bet that Trees with a Lyre is the only good channel on Elf television? But you have to buy from the Elf cable provider, who bundles everything up into a great big package with 300 channels of Trees with a Lyre in Spanish.
How does that work? Did the trees wear sombreros?
That is exactly what it is, and the lyre plays salsa, and if you look really carefully, you can see El Santo down in the trees, wrestling with a vampire zombie woman. I would actually watch that channel. Yes.
Which elves are providing us with the broadcast of El Santo, the Mexican wrestler?
The elves that live in 1950s Mexico?
But we're discussing Middle-earth, though.
It's a magical place.
But 1950s Mexico is not a magical place.
That's not fair. It probably depends on where you live and how old you are at heart.
Also, it depends on whether or not there's wizards or elves or, magic.
They live in your heart, Taylor! Yes.
Okay, fine. They live in my heart. Does that include Sauron and Mount Doom and the Ring Wraiths?
Yes. Your heart is a tempestuous place. You know, the textures on the cave walls are weird in this place. You see all those swirly patterns? Are those supposed to be like fossils?
Maybe they're carvings. This section looks like some kind of temple.
Well, there's some speculation that you are supposed to meet the ancient race. Like there's a bunch of stuff you can jump around on or move to, and they look like structures the ancient race made. So maybe you would have found out what this place was for. Obviously, it is the rock climbing obstacle course. Yes. Oh, you mean like one of those old places for kids? Fun Zone or whatever? They have all the tubes and the ball pits?
They wouldn't make one of those places out of stone.
Taylor, it's ancient times. Did you not notice that Janos was in a toga? They had to make stuff out of stone.
It just sounds like a lawsuit waiting to happen to me.
No, but it's so adorable. Try to imagine all the blue winged kids climbing around on all the rocks.
It's damp and it probably smells like mold and there's no sunlight.
They do not need the sunlight. Yes, they are vampires. One with the night. Or the damp smelly obstacle course, as it were. Yes, the damp smelly obstacle course dedicated to their damp smelly dread powers. Like, for example, turning into mist, or sucking blood from a distance, or being wolves, or bats, or super strength.
I know Cain can do all that, but can the ancient race?
It's not really established.
Can you imagine what it would be like trying to raise kids that could turn into mist at will, though?
Well, vampires get their powers as they grow older, so you probably couldn't do that till you were an adult. But that's why a lot of vampire stories don't have vampire children.
In seriousness, though, that statue is supposed to be of the Elder God. In theory, according to the fans. which raises a lot of questions. For example, did the ancient race actually know what the Elder God was, and yet they worshipped him anyway? For that matter, I guess that Raziel doesn't really know what the Elder God is, but they might have known.
The game sort of acts like the ancient race was deceived by the Elder God, but it would put a different spin on things if they were aware of what the god was and they still worshipped him anyway. You know, Lovecraft used to have a lot of cults that knew what the gods were, and then they would get wiped out because the gods were terrible.
We have kind of established that there might be a lot of reasons for the humans to hate the vampires too.
See, this is why the game is applauded for having good writing. It seems like they've created a lot of factions that all have their own very valid reasons for doing stuff. It might very well be that the ancient race is a bunch of cultists worshipping a horrible god. In that case, why would you not want to wipe them out? And speaking of, there he is! He's all small, he's a baby squid monster. Anyway though, they still establish that Janos is a nice guy, which kinda creates the argument against genocide, but you don't really know enough to know what's going on.
Or in other words, all the groups are made up of individuals with individual beliefs and agendas. So, Raziel, we meet for the first time, I believe.
Elder Squid, the vampires made the pillars. Why are you so intent on killing the vampires?
Why are you so intent on ruining history?
Because it sucks, and there's no survivors, really.
Well, nothing lasts forever, Raziel. Everything has to pass eventually. Except for myself, of course, and perhaps some of my servants, but you require a bit of a time loop for that, and no one wants to get caught in one of those.
What do you gain? What is your angle? You're just some kind of cancer that lives at the bottom of the pillars.
And what have you gained from failing me? Because I guarantee that everything is going exactly as it was. I am not living at the bottom of the pillars. I am omnipresent. I am everywhere. I am in you. Nosgoth cannot escape me, Raziel.
You're inside of me. You created me. I'm your tool. Is any of that true, or are you just some kind of opportunistic, bottom-feeding demon that takes advantage of people?
Oh, listen to you. Spoil sport. Now I feel terrible. I think I'll go back and undo all the things that have already happened in the future that made you come and tell me not to do these things. Then we'll have a time paradox, and oh gosh, I can't do that, can I?
I'm sick of these circular arguments with you.
Oh no! But I'm the wheel! The circular wheel of fate. Well, I enjoy having these conversations every time we have them, Raziel. Good luck at the Seraphim Keep. I'll see you again.
Aw. Goodbye, Elder Squid. We will miss you. Yes. Well, we'll see him again. He's omnipresent. We just won't see him again in this game.
I don't think he is really omnipresent. He may say he is, but he doesn't ever talk to you outside of these select areas.
You know, I couldn't really say. Because the game series ends with Defiance, you never really find out about the Elder Squid. I think Defiance focuses mainly on trying to reconcile the problems in the plot made by Blood Omen 2. Yes. It is like, who are the Hildens? Are they important? No. Yes. Well, the whole thing with Blood Omen 2 is so weird because they create a lot of conflicts, and then the original designers tried to figure out what to do with all those conflicts. They were making Soul Reaver 2 as Blood Omen 2 was in production, so Soul Reaver 2 adds these elements like, oh, the Hilden are gonna be this really big thing, and they set up this really good stuff. But then Blood Omen 2 kinda wraps it all up. It's really very self-contained, the Hilden go nowhere. In fact, they never do explain how Vorador comes back to life, because he's back alive in Blood Omen 2.
Maybe he was only pretending to be dead, and they killed a clone.
That is the worst idea ever! Yes. You say that like you're being profound. I can't tell if you're joking or not.
I'm joking. Clones are always such a frustrating plot element. Boy, these demons really want to kill you.
Well, they wouldn't be so bad, but they block your vision. I think there's more of them here than there were in the future. Again, it is time to question, how is the pillars protecting us if the demons come out whenever they feel like? Yes. Well, maybe it doesn't stop them, it just gives them motion sickness, so they feel really bad.
Oh, so it's like they're welcome to be here, but they want to throw up for as long as they're here.
The pillars are a very passive-aggressive defense. Although it's never really established how they worked as a prison either, because we stopped at Defiance. Blood Omen 2 was such the monkey wrench. Yes. Well, here we are again, in this valley. I gotta say, when we first started off, I thought I'd have a lot to talk about this game, and I guess there kinda is a lot you can say, but at the same time, you keep seeing the same stuff and traveling over the same areas.
But this time, the place is snowy. I don't know, maybe they could have done more to sort of make it look like a different time period, but just running through valleys, you don't get that feel.
Well, Nosgoth is a pretty big world. In Blood Omen, you get to see pretty much all of it, and it's huge, it takes forever to get through. But this is the smallest of the games, and it really does feel like it.
I wonder if it's almost too bad they couldn't stick to that retro 2D style. 3D does look better, but hey, 2D made a comeback.
It's so weird. They imply they know Raziel's destiny, so they must know that they don't stop Raziel either. If you want to know weird, yes, watch the way these demons walk. They bend their hooves at the ankle. Huh. I never noticed that. I guess I was always just so focused on, oh god, a giant demon throwing fireballs!
Well, now see, this is why it's better to play with friends, because your friends are just watching and they catch all the little things that you miss.
Do either of you guys feel like they don't make enough two-player games anymore? I miss those. Everything used to be two-player.
That was because everything used to be in the arcades. They wanted your friend to put quarters in the machines too.
You are going to die from Reaver sucking. Yes. Well, that's okay, because I accidentally picked up this halberd. Come here, people. Sorcerer lady. Oh, I got her.
Seems like all the ranged enemies in this game are made out of tissue paper. Get her soul.
That guy swung right through your head. Yes. Nope, I think he swung just over it, which is probably pretty embarrassing, honestly. And here we've got stairs that lead up to nothing, because for some reason they haven't built a bridge. How the soldiers got up there, I don't know.
You'd think a bridge to the pillars would be a high priority.
Yeah, but you'd also think that you wouldn't want to post a bunch of soldiers out in the middle of nowhere. And you might think they might stop to ask Raziel what he is, because he doesn't have a stomach and he goes through water and he's fine in sunlight, so he's not a vampire.
Except you've got to remember that Raziel gained those powers from vampires, so maybe other guys like Vorador actually have strengths like that. Besides, if a naked blue skeleton man ran streaking through your camp, would you stop to make conversation?
I don't know about you, but I certainly would.
Oh, you would not. You would scream and then go get Peyton to kill it for you.
I would assist only based on my mood that day. Yes. Peyton, you would let my sensible virgin eyes get assaulted by some naked blue guy skeleton butt? You must learn to fly on your own wings, Ray. Yes. One day, you must learn to be able to withstand zombie butt. Oh, come on, do I have to? You know, if Raziel was behaving in the way that I play him, he would come and go before I have a chance to care about it.
I don't think that twin of all the other sorceresses wants to be killed, right?
Well, whatever, this soldier wants to fight. He is going to crush you. Yes. That soldier is like 4 times your skill and speed. Whatever, fine. I'm a ghost now. The ghostly whatevers, the slogs, don't care. They're the same as ever.
Kinda makes it almost more beneficial to be in the spectral realm.
No, because if you die in the spectral realm, they send you back to the last checkpoint. So it's the only place you're punished if you lose. Are we there yet? How is it that Raziel in full armor and human endurance is getting so far ahead of us? Yes. Well, if you want to ask a bigger question, when we go into the spectral realm, time slows down in the normal realm. So this whole time that we're running through this valley in the spectral world, Raziel should be losing ground to us at a ridiculous rate. In fact, if we'd made the whole trip from the spectral realm, it would be like nearly instantaneous teleportation.
Is that canon, though? Or is it just kind of a quirk of the game mechanics?
Well, it's something they do consistently, but they kind of tune it out when it's inconvenient, so I think it's just an aesthetic thing. Like they did it to make the spectral realm feel more otherworldly and different. What are you implying? Yes, that the blue filter does not make the brand new dimension. They do some neat stuff with the spectral realm. Everything bends around, you don't really know why, it's all different. I don't know what that means, but that's part of the mystery. If they did too much stuff, it would just get stupid.
It's nice the way they work those elements into the puzzles, too.
Well, speaking of puzzles, there's one that actually comes up. This entire lake is frozen from top to bottom. Like if you go under the water, which we will in a second, we will see the entire lake is frozen.
You mean, like, the entire body of the lake is just a block of ice?
Yes, and I will now explain, using my educated knowledge of physics, why that means that Nosgoth is basically Planet Hoth during the winter. You see, water has very interesting properties when it comes to freezing. The denser water gets, the more it wants to form hydrogen bonds, because the hydrogen bonding is very stable molecularly. However, to get a good structure for hydrogen bonding, the structure has to expand just a little bit. So that means that when water freezes, it expands. Because of that expansion, water is most dense at 4 degrees Celsius. That means that it's the heaviest per unit of volume at 4 degrees Celsius. So because that's the densest that the water can get, at 4 degrees, the water sinks to the bottom. Over time, the entire lake will become a uniform 4 degrees Celsius. Then, the surface of the lake gets hit by wind chill again and gets a little bit colder. It reaches 3 degrees, and 3 degrees is less dense than 4 degrees. So that water actually stays at the top. That water at the top then continues to get colder and colder until it freezes, and it won't sink because as a solid, it's less dense than the 4-degree water. For water to freeze below the surface, it's gotta stay very cold and for a sustained period. because now the ice has to absorb heat from the water below it. So in other words, for this lake to be frozen from top to bottom, the temperatures would have to be below zero for an extended period of several months, depending on how cold it is. So what you are saying is, yes, that Nosgoth is so cold we do not have a realistic reference, and yet people are still running around with sleeveless shirts. Yeah, basically, but to be fair, those women running around with no sleeves are also fire-casting sorceresses. So who knows how they're doing out here.
So that's an explanation for the sorceresses, but what about the soldiers? Those guys may look nice, but they don't look warm.
Well, they clearly have magical, enchanted thermal underwear.
Okay, now that's just not fair. You use molecular physics when you describe the freezing of a lake, but when it comes to the soldiers, you just say, I don't know, magic maybe. How do you know they didn't use magic to freeze the lake?
Because if you could make enchanted thermal underwear that always kept you warm, they would definitely do that, no question. But if you could freeze over an entire lake, why would you?
You don't know that they purposefully froze it over. The Temple of Light is right next door. Maybe there's some kind of magical reactor that draws heat out of the water.
Unlikely. Name me one reactor that produces cold as a byproduct.
An air conditioner.
Nope. Air conditioner produces cold as an end product. But as a byproduct, they still produce heat.
It's magic! You can't just say, oh, magical thermal underwear is a thing, but a magical reactor that produces cold instead of heat is impossible.
Magical thermal underwear would absorb your excess body heat and then store it up to a certain threshold. That makes sense thermodynamically. But nothing absorbs cold. Things only absorb heat.
You are the wraith of a soul-eating vampire.
But presumably, a wraith that follows the laws of thermodynamics. Otherwise, it would be a high magic setting. And I think it's, like, mid-level magic.
Okay, now you're just being arbitrary.
Speaking of arbitrary, yes, I cannot help but notice that we have chosen a light, uplifting acoustic guitar for background music. Why? Yes. Well, that's because we've been here so many times that the place has gotten to be homey and friendly. We know the place like the back of our hand. Heck, Raziel as a human in this era has a bed. So technically, we have a room. Not only that, but this is about to become the easiest section of the game.
Really? This is the last stage. We have, I don't know, what is it, 20 more minutes to go?
Yeah, thereabout. This is where we wrap it all up. Did you ever play Final Fantasy X? Do you remember when you fought the final boss and all your characters were completely unkillable? Yes! That was always so baffling and frustrating. Why did that happen? I don't know, but they did the same kind of thing in Soul Reaver 2. Suddenly, I found the Reaver laid out before me, unguarded and in the open. It was as though someone had taken one of the vampire's most powerful and ancient artifacts, set it down, then run off to go check on something in the oven. It was very suspicious. Even more concerning, I couldn't sense the blade as I normally did, and the weapon bound to my own arm yearned to reach out and make contact.
Oh, Raziel, hey bud. Oh, you found the Reaver, great. I was looking all over for that thing.
Mobius!
What?
You? What do you mean, what?
Raziel!
Are you trying to trick me again?
No, I'm demonstrating how awkward that is that I walk into a room and you just shout my name like I'm supposed to know what that's all about.
It's because you suck, dick. And because you suck dicks, dick.
Okay, A, I have always been super nice to you, and B, who are you to judge? Didn't you used to wear really tight leather pants and you hung around with Kane and a bunch of other guys who wore tight leather pants, and you were all shirtless?
Well, yeah, because that was the uniform. I was just grasping at insults, alright?
Well, next time you're grasping for insults, don't settle on something that would upset a broad swath of social groups.
You're a genocidal maniac.
And I believe that everyone, regardless of gender or orientation, should be allowed to participate equally in my ideological and genocidal war.
Somehow that doesn't sound really progressive.
Well, I'm not sure if you guys noticed with your oiled up chests and everything, but there weren't a lot of female vampires in Kane's army, were there?
Well, that's not true. There was some. Can I just stay convicted of something for like 5 minutes, please?
Personally, I think you could stand to reevaluate a few things.
Okay, no. I don't know how this got away from me so badly, but I don't care what you represent, your methods are deplorable.
Well, that's too bad. I guess that puts you on the wrong side of history.
You're an ideologue and a bastard. And we're doing the sword now!
Yeah, do the sword with yourself, Raziel.
Darn it. Now that I'd picked up the Reaver, I found myself strangely unable to set it down. I could feel the Wraithblade trying to embrace its physical form, but within range of Mobius' staff, it was unable. So that's it, we're officially immortal because we have the Reaver. Anything that tries to defeat us will lose eventually. But the physical blade can be blocked though, yes? Yes, and not only that, but it's weaker than the Soul Reaver, so it is effectively a downgrade.
But it does make you immortal, though.
Raziel was already immortal. There's nothing about the physical blade that isn't a downgrade from the Wraith blade.
So the vampire thrall dares to set foot in our fortress.
Malkaya. I would recognize your voice anywhere. Who's this guy on your left?
This is Andrew, who is replacing Rahab, who tragically fell through the ice on the way back from your dark master's lair.
Wait, seriously? Rahab is like the strongest swimmer of the group.
Well, he fell through the ice in full armor. There was nothing anyone could do.
So your enemies here are Malkaya and Andrew,
Yes, it is.
not Zaphon.
No, because if you remember, Zaphon is the one with the fish fins on his helmet because he turns into a spider.
Well, okay then.
It doesn't matter because now it's time for intense combat! Seriously? Yes? Yeah? This is the final boss battle for Soul Reaver 2. You get to use all the intense stuff that you picked up along the way, and the enemies are basically the same ones that you've been fighting since the very beginning, but they're like way, way faster than Raziel. Worse than the Seraphim. So, the best strategy is just to run in circles and jab the Reaver wildly until they're dead. This is kind of suckful, Ray. That's fair. It's a fair criticism. A lot of people made that same criticism. I mean, you gotta think they were trying to rush to the end of the game, and they had to sit down and they said, alright, what are we gonna do to wrap things up? They said, well, we should have a big boss fight. And then someone said, there's no time to program a big boss fight. They said, okay, let's just reuse some old models and you know, that'll work.
Well, it's super duper exciting.
As Malkaya and Andrew fell before me, the Reaver drained them of their vital essences. I felt the old vampiric bloodlust as keenly as I ever had before. It was a very happy feeling.
Oh, Raziel. He never really does reform, does he?
He really doesn't. He may be our hero, and we may follow along in his exploits, but he never does reform.
Speaking of, I noticed that you left Mobius on a slightly more ambiguous note than the original game does. In the original writing, Mobius is actually pretty well depicted as being the evil bad guy. He doesn't make any qualms about it. He seems to be at peace with his evil.
Yeah, Mobius is kind of a funny character because the game establishes some good reasons for him to do what he does, but then they go ahead and have him rub his hands together and just conspire against the world. He's obviously in the wrong. I thought it would be more convincing to have Mobius have kind of good intentions, but terrible means that lead to eventually terrible ends.
But it's not like our heroes have any better means, and their ends, of course, are just as terrible.
I do not know what you are talking about, Tyler. I think Kane's ends and means are both perfect. Yes. And we're walking, nobody's talking, wait for the cue. Oh my good heavens! It's the Raziel Vampire Thrall! What are you doing in this fort? Vampire thralls aren't welcome here! Shut up, Zaphon! I'm gonna stab you and Duma through your stupid heads!
I assume we lost just a little bit of eloquence between this and the original cutscene.
We did. The original cutscene was like 10 times longer. But it doesn't matter now because it's time again for intense combat! You know, watching this in action, guys, I am reminded of Dynasty Warriors 3, but with significantly reduced potential. Oh, I know why that is. It's because the AI in this game responds to Raziel running around in the same way that they do in Dynasty Warriors 3. You have all the privates that just stand there and wait for you to do something, and it's not until you attack that they block or attack or whatever.
Do you think there's maybe a code in the game that says when Raziel's moving, try to move towards Raziel, and the reason why you're able to kill them like this is because they're trying to execute that code?
That's a good hypothesis, but it's never good when your players start thinking to themselves, oh my gosh, I wonder what went wrong with the coding. These battles really do highlight the very worst aspects of this combat system. It's like a culmination of all the flaws into one big battle. What's amazing is they do this as the finale. Like, this is the last hurrah, this terrible, terrible system. They make you go through it. It's incredible that they managed to end on a good note in spite of going through this. It's so bad that it's almost a little bit insulting to the characters involved. And it's a real testament to the skill of the writers that they were able to make up for it. We're gonna screw up the last cutscene, of course. But I remember thinking to myself, wow, that last section was really terrible, but I wonder where we are going from here.
Just gotta know what happens next in the story. And we're waiting for the cue.
This is as far as you're gonna go, Vampire Raziel.
Terrell, why didn't you go down and help the others while I was killing them?
Because I don't like Zaphon.
Yeah, but now he's dead, and you're up here by yourself when it could have been 3-on-1.
Oh, Now I feel really stupid.
Those are going to be some exceptional last words. Yes. Well, you know, when you're gonna die, you might as well just say whatever comes to mind.
So I noticed there's a light font in the background. I assume there was a purpose for it, just never came to pass.
Yep, there was supposed to be some kind of puzzle here, but they never did finish building it. It is so gripping. Yes. Will you regain your composure? Yeah, I just have to run up next to him and then spam the square button. I don't know why I have the power attack. It's just slow, gets me jabbed in the face. Does it break the block, maybe? Like if you could pull it off, would it do something interesting? No. It's like a normal attack, but just takes longer to do.
Well, Terrell is dead. That means you're on to your worst enemy, you.
Yep. It ought to be a bigger deal than it is, but it's mostly just kind of amusing. Not very many games make you go back and kill your past self. So does past Raziel use the same fighting style as Vampire Raziel? Yes. No. Old original flavor Raziel is actually stronger, faster, better. He can block in the middle of an attack. He's way better than Vampire Raziel. That is preposterous and stupid. Let me guess, he is based on the swordsman model we have been fighting all game. Yes. Ding ding, you win a prize. It's disappointment. So, it's my self-proclaimed future self. Just tell me where Janos' heart is, old classic Raziel. We don't have to fight one another. If you really are me, you failed to live up to a lot of expectations. Oh, this coming from the Raziel wearing clown shoes. They're not clown shoes. This is the uniform of the Grand Inquisitor of the Seraphim Priesthood. Well, it's goofy looking, and you guys are genocidal maniacs. We are not. Your mission statement is to kill all vampires. Granted, you're very inclusive about it, but still, it's genocide. It's not genocide because vampires aren't really a race. Of course they're a race. It's the vampire race. They're a race. What? Why would they not be a race? Well, because according to Mobius... No. Not according to Mobius. Aren't there, like, outside criticisms? Oh, yeah, I guess Mobius is the most mainstream. Pretty much everybody believes in Mobius's take on things. But if you look at Mortanius, he's got sort of a fringe belief. No, I mean, like, what is the mainstream criticism outside of this circle, or the Seraphim Priesthood? There's no mainstream criticism. Really? There's no mainstream criticism of a genocide? It's not a genocide because, as Mobius explains... Oh, for God's sake, let's just kill each other! So this is it. This is the ultimate battle against the generic swordsman who is blocking your every single attack. Yes. Yes, that is what is happening. You won disappointment. Because you were right, Raziel doesn't have any special attacks or anything. But look at the size of his feet, oh my god.
I just cannot believe that with its last 10 minutes, the game is shitting the bed this badly.
We should do something musical, yes? It is the finale. This is what we do.
Okay, we'll do a short one. Let me just lead in with an acapella here. Give me a second. Boom ba-dum boom 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 ba-da-dum boom ba-dum bum 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 ba-da-dum boom ba-dum bum bum ba-da-dum boom ba-dum bum ba-da-dum boom ba-dum bum bum ba-da-dum boom ba-dum bum bum ba-da-dum boom ba-dum bum ba-da-dum boom ba-dum bum 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 bum ba-da-dum
Yes. That was very good, guys. Thank you. Yes. You killed yourself. Good work. You know, Classic Raziel, it's a real shame we couldn't come to a consensus. But don't worry, when you wake up, you're gonna share my point of view. For a long while, it's gonna be really great. And then it gets a little bit bumpy after the Pit of Despair. After that, you win the argument. The bloodlust faded, giving way to a damp, cavernous emptiness. The Reaver awoke, apparently sufficiently distant from Mobius's staff. It wrapped around its familiar physical self. And there I stood, a specter haunting my own corpse. And as I contemplated my own emptiness, I realized a second emptiness even more concerning. The Reaver was no longer bound to my body. In less time than I could think, the blade plunged itself into my chest. I couldn't release the weapon, and as it began to tug my soul into the Reaver, for the first time I felt that thing inside the blade. It was corrupted, a vampiric thing never meant to eat souls. And who should appear to witness my terrible demise but none other than Cain himself? Hello, Raziel. Yes. Cain, you sack of crap! No, Raziel. Yes. Cain has come as the friend. He is here to help you out, you know. You're not here to help me. You're here ugly! How dare you? Yes, Cain is not ugly. You take it back. You don't even have eyebrows. You just have big flaps of skin where your eyebrows are supposed to be. Cain has evolved beyond eyebrows. And Raziel does not have eyebrows either. Yes. Pull the sword out of me, you stupid jerk! Of course, yes, it is part of Cain's big plan. I mean, yes, Cain, what did you do? Cain? Oh, okay, yes, everything is still going fine. Cain knows what he is doing. It is all according to the big plan. Yes. Raziel, you need to get back into the Reaver sometime. Not right away, just do it eventually. Yes. And that was the last I heard from Cain as I slipped into the spectral realm. Waiting for me there was the Reaver. When I felt that thing in the sword, I could make no mistake. The deranged soul trapped in that blade had been, and always was, me. This was the only destiny waiting for me. And that was Soul Reaver 2. A game with a terrible final 10 minutes that goes out on a bang regardless because of very good writing.
And of course, you've also got to thank the voice actors who really sell the characters and make them into compelling individuals.
Though you don't get to hear them in this Let's Play, they really put on a great performance. So, do you guys want to play Defiance now? Yes? Sure,
Yeah,
let's do
I'd
it.
be okay with that.
Thanks for playing with us, everybody.
Oh boy, just what you wanted to hear.
It's whatever. I mean, she knows I've got a lot of medical background, so I kind of default as the family, I don't know, doctor, I guess.
Uh-oh, what kind of bedroom business requires a doctor?
Nothing. She just doesn't know what...